Is Phantasmal Flames worth opening today? My name is Justin. I'm a professional data analyst. I'm a big Pokemon fanatic, and let's break it down. So Phantasmal Flames released on November 14th. It's been about a month and a half at the time of this recording. There's been some time now for the market to start to settle since release, but what happens over time is the graded market. So it takes time for PSA cards to hit the market. Right now, the turnaround times for PSA is like 3 months. We're just now starting to see some PSA data come in and the pop reports. So I wanted to break down what's going on, what the data we have today is showing, and what to really expect over the course of the next couple of months. So the question I think at the core of this set is, even though the main chase card Charizard is easy to pull, it's about like 1 in 10 boxes. You know, is the demand for this card going to be high enough to keep the price that we're seeing for this card pretty high, even though it's easy to pull and the supply is going to be in much greater volume than would be some other chase cards from earlier sets. And then additionally, what about the other hits in the sets? Right now, the prices that we're seeing for the PSA graded cards are pretty high. So will that be able to sustain itself? And or at least what's the differential going to be between just the chase card and the other cards? And you can see from a raw standpoint, that separation is pretty wide. And I think it's safe to assume that's probably going to happen with our PSA graded variants as well. I think it's kind of evident that there's a lot of hesitation going into 2026. We see the market cooling off a lot. And then even with this new set, Phantasmal Flames, it's the same thing. You've got these booster box prices that as of last week were just down to $200, almost $200 a box, which is, you're going back to early surging Sparks prices. But that's like a normalization that we haven't seen really all year. Let's jump into the actual analysis, okay? So if you've seen my previous videos, what we're working with here is not just the raw market prices of these cards. It's the cost of the packs right now. Then you look at the pull rates for all the cards that you could pull from every rarity tier. What's the average? And then you look at the PSA pop reports to see what's the typical gem rate, meaning like how many of the cards are going to get a 10, and then include the market price for those gem mint cards as well. Factor all that into end-to-end, know what is my return or loss going to look like by just ripping packs. I think it's a pretty important analysis for me because that's at the core of, you know, do I open it or do I keep it sealed? Like that whole thing, it's everyone knows and has a feeling of what the odds are based on their experience and seeing other YouTubers open packs and things like that. But, you know, if you really do the deep dive analysis, you can see where the variances are, and it's especially by set. So the way that I have it broken out here, as you can tell, that the sets at the top have the highest return on value based on the cost and the prices of the cards in the market today. Right now, Phantasmal Flames is at the top. The reason for that is simply because we don't have enough volume of graded cards on the market. So the prices are sky high. Let's just take a look to that point. Destined Rivals, for instance. Right now, there are 207,000 Destined Rivals cards that were graded by PSA at the time of this recording on January 1st. And then let's see for Phantasmal Flames what we have reported. Just a measly 5,000. So we're what is that, 2% of the potential volume that's going to come through? It's really, really too early to be assessing the market price of these graded cards because the supply is so limited. But let's just, now that we know that, let's take that and roll that into what we're seeing with the set. So all these other Scarlet and Violet, you know, there's been plenty of time on the market now to really let these cards settle and these prices to be relatively consistent or reliable. Phantasmal Flames, still too early. Even Mega Evolutions I don't have in here, just only because, you know, I don't have a good reason, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of Mega Evolutions, so I wanted to see for myself what Phantasmal Flames looked like right now. Your total cost, if you were to spend $3,000 opening about 2 cases worth of packs, you're actually going to see a total value of almost $5,000, $5,500, $5,600 in value that you could earn, assuming you were able to pull those cards, get them graded, and have them the very same day. But we know that's not going to happen. But it just shows you that there is a pretty big premium of early prices, and also that, I guess, if you're buying those cards, the early bird tax of you trying to buy those cards at early on, and you were going to pay a premium like significantly. If you did not grade any cards, I think this is something really important to see across all the sets and anything I analyze. If you don't grade the cards, the cost versus the raw value that you can get is never in your favor. If you're expecting to see any value parity with what you paid for it, you have to grade cards. You see you're down about $2,000 if you don't grade these cards. That's because there's such a premium to these PSA 10 cards. But then, the question is, all right, what if you don't even pull a Charizard? Are you totally cooked? So what happens if we don't even include the Charizard in our numbers at all, and you're just taking the average value of the SIRs across the other cards? Even with that, you're still seeing a 54% increase over your cost with the value of the cards today. Of course, the majority of the value is going to come from the illustration rares. I do think that if you're not pulling a Charizard, it's not going to be a fun time, not fun opening. But as the numbers say today, technically there's some wiggle room with the premium of these early graded cards on the market. So let's take one other moment to talk about breakpoints. It's something that I think, when you look at this and you say, hey, it's if I open a pack of Phantasmal Flames right now, my value is going to be 54%, even if I don't pull a Charizard. As I mentioned, these are the odds after opening about like 2 cases. There are a certain number of packs you need to open, aka that's where breakpoints come in. So for Phantasmal Flames, I'm being very generous here. I won't go into the details, but I'm assuming that it's going to take you half the time to pull the first hit. That's basically what's happening. I'm just rounding up the percentages. So once it's a 50% chance to pull a hit, the first hit, then it assumes you pull it. And then it still is going to take the full pull rate odds to hit the second one. But just so you're aware, these are generous breakpoint odds for you as well. As similar with some of these other sets that have about a 80 pack per SIR pull rate, I'm being pretty generous here. I'm saying that you're going to open your first one in half the time. But just say minimum would be a minimum breakpoint of about 40 packs. And then once you get to 120 would be like the next kind of similar breakpoint for Phantasmal Flames because of the SIR pull rates. But you see it continues to grow the more packs you open. But yeah, no, you got to at least pull 40 packs. Rip 40 packs to start seeing potentially something. I'll just go ahead and tell you about our opening. It took us a while. We've been totally unlucky with Mega Evolutions. We've opened almost 200 packs, never saw a single SIR. Things are starting to look hopeless too for Phantasmal Flames. So we only opened a minimal amount, decided we weren't really going to go for the Charizard. But after doing, some of this analysis too and seeing the odds, and it's really about a 1 in 10 box chance, we decided, we're going to give it a go. We opened 1 box in a recent video, didn't get lucky there, was opening some ETBs, opening some booster bundles. All in all, I think we opened with 2 booster boxes, you just say probably about 120 packs is what we opened until we finally, yes, hit the Charizard. Believe it or not. What is that? What is that? We got something. We got something.
Okay.
Dude! Oh, finally!
Let's do. Yes!
High five!
Wait.
This makes opening more. I don't think it takes away from the fun of opening. Yeah, it's like if you analyze the numbers and you think, oh, I'm going to expect this, that could be bad. If you say, hey, I should get this within this, and you don't, that might feel worse. But it also makes you feel more comfortable going in knowing what to expect. Instead of getting your hopes up, opening 10 packs and expecting a Charizard is really, really, really unlikely once you understand the true odds. So, and also it just from a financial standpoint, you know what you're doing. Are you just wasting your money, blowing money on buying tons of boxes, expecting to be able to just get all this value? Well, that's what people were doing the prismatic evolutions. It's at the bottom of this list. There's just no value to get from it unless you hit the jackpot. And if you're just a true degenerate and that's your style, prismatic evolutions is for you. But if you want to actually get some value and have a better experience, having some, illustration rares or some other exciting cards to pull from the set, your best bet is to go for sets that have generous pull rates and have a lot of variations in there. So that's why these other sets do so well. White Flare and Black Bolt, and then even Destined Rivals. Even though the price per pack is pretty high, and you're not guaranteed that Mewtwo. It takes a long time to chase that Mewtwo. There's a lot of variety there. There's a lot of valuable cards, desirable cards that make that worthwhile. You know, I've talked about this before, but even 151. How is 151 at this crazy pack price still almost a break-even value? Because the cards, it's generous, there's a lot of variety, and the cards are desirable. It's that simple. You got to have those three things, and I'm realizing it now. You got to have those three things to make a good set. You've got to have a lot of variability, generous pull rates, and desirability. And if you have those things, you have a really good set. You know, if you have one of those things, like Prismatic Evolutions, you've got desirability, and you've got that's it. You've got desirability. You're not generous in your pull rates, and there's no variability. It's just, I mean, there's kind of variability with Master Balls, but the market doesn't want Master Balls. These numbers include Master Balls, assuming you pull those and send those to get graded. It's still not worth it. The market is saying no to that. It's purely the desirability of the God packs, you know. So, anyways, I hope this helps illustrate the whole situation with Pokemon and what it's like to open packs and if it's worth it. This is a longer video than I thought, but anyways, I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, come back again. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks.